wish I was, because I have a great deal of respect for the ability to fail, get back up, and keep trying. And so the fact that you're here and wanting to learn and grow yourself, I admire that a lot. Confidence. So there's a huge difference between confidence and arrogance, right? And so I'll tell you a story. At school level, I started in my second to last year of high school rowing, and I had a bit of fitness to my name and went on to Māori Cup, which is the nationals for rowing, and I won the top 8 and the top 4 in my novice under 17 season, which to me was like, cool, I raced well, I trained hard, and that's right. But a lot of people were telling me, oh, that's amazing, you did really good, and that went to my head a little bit. Not so much the first year, but then the next year, I raced the same 2 races and won again, and so now I'm thinking I'm a big deal. But that's not a healthy thing to do. So at that point, the first year I got a junior trial, but I wasn't a New Zealand citizen, so I couldn't trial for the New Zealand team. So the next year I got rid of my South African citizenship, got New Zealand citizenship, and then I went to trials, and I was coming in like, yeah, I got this, I'm going to make the team, I deserve it. But you don't deserve anything until you do it. And so I was way too confident coming in, did the seat racing, and so seat racing, you swap over, and that's how they test who's the fastest, who makes the boat go fastest. And then I started blaming the selection, the system, and not myself. So I didn't make the team, and that when you have such high expectations for yourself, which I don't think is a good thing all the time, but if it's so high that it's above your current level and then you fail, it hurts. And it, put me in a hole. I was like, oh, what's the point? This sucks. I'm not happy. This is, screw the system. But then I decided that actually I didn't deserve it. So what am I going to do about it? I'm going to work so hard to the point where I deserve to be the best. I want to deserve to be the best. I don't want to just think it or people telling me. And then, so I learned that arrogance is bad, confidence is good. And this comes from a nice book. If you heard of Extreme Ownership, I would fully recommend reading that. It's about a Navy SEAL and how he teaches leadership. So success. So fast forward a few years, and I'm selected into the New Zealand Men's 8, and I think I'm 21 at this point, so I'm quite young for the rowing elite level. And we go to Poznan, and this is the first international regatta that I'm in the 8, which is the priority boat for rowing, if you guys know anything about rowing. And this time my confidence and arrogance is in check, but it's almost to the point where it's too much. We don't have, as a crew, much confidence in ourselves. And so we go and we race the exhibition race, which is the practice race, basically. And we get dead last. And we have this huge crew talk at that night, and we're saying, what went wrong? What are we doing? We're not racing the way we should be racing. And then one guy speaks up, because he's quite a good leader, and he says, we just need to race hard, just swing, push hard, just work together. And he says it in such a good way that at that point I couldn't articulate myself. But then the next day, we're feeling better. We're ready to, because when you come last and you've failed, anything better is great. And so we go out and we're racing. I love this course in Poland. They've got theme parks and like water slides all around the park, and it's just an interesting environment to be in. Anyway, so I'm stroking it. So I'm at the front of the boat. So 7 guys behind me following me. And I'm quite young, but at some point they decided that I had what it took to stroke this boat. And so I had a bit of confidence there, and I was happy for that. And so I decided, actually, I have to own this, and I have to make sure that we do well. And so we start the race, and I give it my all straight from the start, and we're out 3rd or 4th place. Coming into the last K, we end up in second. We're in second, and the racing time that the coxswain, little guy steering the boat's telling us, we're going on to get the world record time. This is some fast pace, and so the German crew's out in front of us. We come into the last 500, and they just take off. So they get the world record by about a second, 5:18. And then we're about 5 seconds or 4 seconds behind, which makes it the fastest time in New Zealand men's 8 has ever raced. And to me, that blew my mind. Because from when I was a junior and I was arrogant, and I learnt the lesson that you have to take ownership for what you're doing and work to be the best and deserve it, to I think 3 or 4 years later, getting the fastest time in the world, and it's an amazing feeling. So when you work for it, it's really good. Trust. So that year, just a month or so later, we've got a few more races this year internationally. And so trust is very important in a crew, in a team sport especially, for work as well. And trust is built on reliability and consistency. So if someone is sporadic and you can't predict their activity and their behavior, you don't trust them as much as someone that is very consistent. And the thing is, so here's where I'm taking the blame here. I was inconsistent because I was trying new things. So when I raced passionately, and then I decided, okay, you can't just be passionate all the time and during training. And so in training, I wasn't as passionate, I was just consistent. But because there's an inconsistency between my behavior there, the crew noticed it and they're like, we don't trust him. So we got off the water and they're like, we don't trust this guy. And that hurt. You know, your whole crew's standing there, we just got the fastest New Zealand time and we don't trust you. And, you know, I lash back. I say, well, you do this, you do that. It's not just my fault. But again, that's bad. The moment you start blaming others and you get emotional, you're not able to think logically and realize that actually there's something that you could do better. And you can't control other people as effectively as you can control yourself, because you have full ability to control yourself. And so I learned from that, and I decided, okay, they want the passion. They want me to race the way I raced then and train like that as well. And so I applied that. And yeah, it went on. It was a good season. And it's a really good lesson to learn about trust. Don't lie. This is an interesting one. I don't mean don't lie to others. I mean don't lie to yourself. So I say tell the truth, at least don't lie. Because sometimes you can't tell the truth. Sometimes you got to tell a white lie, or sometimes there's a situation. But don't lie applies when, say, someone gives you an order, like say your coach tells you to do something and you don't agree with it, and then you don't speak up. So what happens there is you decrease your serotonin in your mind and your status. They increase theirs. And that means you're less likely to fight back or like talk up later. But the problem is there, you're hiding your feelings and your potential for happiness. And so that happens once, that's fine. It happens twice, 3 times, 4 times. You're getting deeper and deeper and hiding that ability and strength to be able to speak up. And so you're getting into a real dark place, and that's where depression forms, is feeling like you're not able to even control your own situation. And so in this rowing environment, this is after these races now, I got to the point where it physically hurt in my heart, well, in my chest, to go to training and just show up. And to me, that was like, why am I doing this? It's making me miserable. And the reason that I got to this point was because I didn't speak up. And it gets harder and harder as you go along. So one lesson there is, if someone says something and you don't agree with it, you don't have to say, no, I don't agree with you, you're stupid. You say, how about we work something out that, like negotiation, something that benefits both of us. And sometimes the system is a bit broken and you can't do that just yet. And then you have to take a step away from that system because it might be a toxic environment with toxic people potentially, and it's a bit of a toxic culture. But you won't be able to fight through that system because that's a huge thing and you're just one person. It's quite hard to change that. So it's better to say, okay, I've taken 2 years off rowing, now I'm taking another 2 years off to focus on my career. But I couldn't handle that. And now, I'm loving it, working, challenging my brain and just doing what I want to do, and I'm loving it. And the idea here is I help change the system slowly so that I can come back in 2 years and try for the next Olympics. But yeah, don't bottle up the emotion and lie to yourself, because you will struggle. I got one little story that's not so much about failure, but I see David Bennett showed up today. When I was at school level, I had the opportunity to go to Harvard or Yale. Full fees paid, and I was like, this is awesome. But if I go there, the rowing's not as good as rowing for the country, for your nation. And so it was one of the toughest decisions I had to make in my life, apart from leaving rowing. That was tougher. I cried 3 times on that day. Called my mum. I cried to the head of rowing. Man, it sucked. But I can take on anything now. I'm not going to cry 4 times. So I had this opportunity, and my mum's like, no, you can't leave. We came to this country because we're from South Africa to get away from something and be a family. And I thought, yeah, but what about this Ivy League education and all those good things that everyone says about Harvard and Yale and Princeton and whatnot? But then I realized that you don't need a certificate or a title or a degree to tell you that you're able to work hard and achieve what you want to achieve. And I believe that I've done the rowing and I've done better than I could have ever expected and would have done overseas. But on top of that, I believe that I can develop my career to a point where no degree would have helped, because I'm doing something more entrepreneurial and helping people with health and performance. But with a degree in business, or I don't even think a degree could help with health and science and health and performance. And it's a bit outdated at some unis. But yeah, it's a big decision. You have to make it, but you have to realize that no matter what your current situation is, you are enough. Your skills, your experience, your knowledge up to this point has made you who you are today. But the key is never stagnate. So never accept that I'm fine here. Accept that you are enough for where you are, but realize that there's potential for growth. Thank you.